Hello, folks, Creepy X here. I would like to share a story with you. This story is a true story. How do I know that it is true? Well, I lived through most of it. My father passed away in my senior year of high school. So I had to move out of state and move in with my older brother to finish high school. Everything was great at first. Then my brother had to leave on a business trip. He was a busy exec and gone a lot of the time. His wife and 2 kids were always left behind. So it was me, my sister-in-law and niece and nephew. The home we lived in was a large home. It had 2 separate staircases. Several different entries into the home. Also lots of different rooms. The home also had a home security system as well. So, to start things off, I was down in the family room watching a movie. I hear a scream and running down the stairs. My niece comes running by me with a cordless phone in her hand and yells for me to get out. So I am wondering what the heck is going on, but follow her outside. I am thinking maybe a fire or something. The police came and listened to her explain what has happened. She says she was in her bedroom changing her clothes from school. She said there was a camera flash that came from an AC duct mounted on her wall. The police came into the house and did a search. They went to her room, and there is a side attic door in her room that you can access the attic. They searched the attic and found not only does the attic go above the top floor, but it also down the side of the house to the master bedroom. It was an older home, so that may be the reason it was such a big attic space. The police found nothing in their search of the home. They just said make sure to keep the home security on and lock the doors. They left and things went back to normal somewhat. The next morning when we all came down to the kitchen for breakfast. There on the kitchen counter laid an open can of tuna just lying there with the contents of the can gone. We all just looked at each other and kept blaming each other for not throwing away the can if we opened it. After it became clear that none of us opened the can of tuna. Then the fear sat in because whoever left it there ate it some time while we were asleep. So we called the police again. They came and looked at things and did another home search and found nothing again. Things again went back to normal for a while. At night I am a light sleeper and would hear footsteps out on the hardwood floors. I would always figure it was one of my relatives using the bathroom. It was not until later on that I found out that my brother's wife and kids all slept in the master bedroom. They kind of barricaded themselves in there and would not come out until morning. So those footsteps I heard, I still wonder to this day who that was. I went away for a weekend to visit my mother. My sister-in-law met my mother halfway to pick me up. On our way back to the house, my brother's wife and I just chit-chatted on our way back home. As we were making the turn on the road to the house, my sister-in-law went silent. I looked up and saw why. There were police cars sitting in the driveway with lights flashing. She stopped the car and went running out the door to see what was going on. This time my niece and nephew were sitting at the dining room table and she was writing a letter to her boyfriend. While they were sitting there over in the formal dining room a few feet from them, there is a piano, and it started playing. My niece and nephew went running out of the house to the neighbors and they called the police. Once again the police did a complete search of the home. They found nothing again. One of the police officers who has been there on many of the calls. I guess there were many more before I came to live there. He wanted us to meet him at the local mall the next day. So the following day we went to meet the officer at the mall. He was in his street clothes. He said with all the calls and the calls leading to nothing, some were getting tired of showing up basically. He wanted to help us out. He suggested we drive back to our home with him in the trunk of the car. He wanted us to pull in our garage and close the garage door once we were in. Once the garage door closed, he would get out of the trunk and go into our dark home and just sit there. To see if anything would happen. We would leave and just leave him alone in there. We came back the next morning hoping he would find something or anything. Well, we pulled into the driveway and everything seemed okay at first. We got out of our car and my nephew noticed that one of the cars, the hood ornament had been torn off and laying on the hood of the car. Then the other car that was in the driveway, there was a note tucked under the wiper blade. The note read, "Thought you could catch me." So we went into the house and of course, the officer had nothing to happen. We showed him what happened outside to the cars. He just shook his head and was kind of dumbfounded. At that same time, my niece was getting ready for a trip to go see her dad for a week. She was getting ready to leave and forgot something in her room. We soon heard a scream, "Mom, get up here now." We all went running up to her room to see what was going on. There on her desk calendar, there was another note and it said, "See you when you get back." Then on the date she was supposed to return home from her trip was written, "I will be waiting." We called the officer who has helped us. He came and documented everything and did all he could, including another search of the home. While my niece was away on her trip, things seemed normal at the house. I did have a creepy moment myself, but that was just me being silly. You see, my brother was having an in-ground pool installed at the house for the kids. My nephew and his mom were away at one of his sporting events. It started storming outside while I just had watched Poltergeist. The chair I was sitting in was next to the French door that went outside. I looked out there and the hole had just been dug for the pool and was filling with water, and then I remembered the scene in the movie with the pool and skeletons. I was on the edge of my seat a bit, wishing I did not watch that movie and wishing the storm would go away. My niece came home from her trip to see her father. She stayed a few days longer, trying to come home unexpected as the officer suggested. Things went on with calls here and there to the police and them never finding anything. My niece graduated from high school and went to college. I never did hear if she had problems in college. I had moved away myself and starting my own life. It was not until a few years later I heard my niece found a great job in another state. She had moved and had a nice apartment there. One day she forgot something back at her apartment she needed for work. She called her boyfriend to see if he could retrieve it for her and bring it to her when they meet for lunch. He went to her apartment. As he was opening the door, he saw a shadow go by. He ran in and found a man and tackled him to the floor. He held him there until the police came. Come to find out, this is the same man that has been following her from the start. He admitted to everything and even mentioned staying in that house many nights when we were there asleep. He said he would leave things like the tuna can to let us know he was there. He had even watched when the alarm code was put in. He knew the alarm code even after changing it many times. This man seemed to be a very sick individual. Even after admitting to everything, he barely spent any time in jail. He was just charged with breaking and entering and stalking. With him out in this world somewhere. My niece has become somewhat of a recluse. She did get married and have kids. But she seems to stay from all forms of social media and texting. I think she has the fear of being found by him again. Hope you all like this creepy tale. Remember, this one is a true story as I have lived it myself. Please like and subscribe to my channel.